Guys, don't forget to check out DOOMKICKER on INDIEGOGO now for a limited time, with exciting perks like exclusive prints and a special Mike S. Miller cover. Back now only on INDIEGOGO. Hey guys, if you are enjoying the content here on the Jerkmonger Show, be sure to subscribe, like this video, and please share. Thanks. Welcome one, welcome all to the Jerkmonger Show. Yeah, what's up everybody? I am your host, the Jerkmonger, coming at you live from Tampa, Florida. What's going on, kids? I hope you guys are doing good. I just wanted to come in and say hello. I'm going to just put a little time in today to kind of do like a, actually I had a lot of family stuff going on today. So I'm doing a little bit of a, I'm actually kind of warming up for some work tonight. And I wanted to, and I might be coming on a little bit later to have a little bit of lightsaber battle with Mike S. Miller. Perhaps, we'll see. We'll see how his schedule is. But in the meantime, I want to thank you guys for coming in. I got a couple people here. I got Jalapeno Milk. I got Rodwell Stevens. We're hanging out in the chat. I appreciate that. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I double appreciate it, and I appreciate it a third time. I appreciate you guys so much. I hope you guys are having a fabulous holiday season. We are in full swing, kids. This is Saturday evening on my time here on the East Coast of Tampa, of the United States, here in Tampa, Florida. And I get kind of melancholy at this time of the year. This is where I start getting like, oh man, it's almost over. But alas, it is the end, and it is what it is, and we got to do what we got to do. So, as I said, I've been having lots of conversations about Star Wars. I'm getting tired of it, frankly, but I'm excited to do it again with Mike Miller if it happens. In the meantime, I'm open to you guys asking me questions if you'd like. I did see it. I did like it. I like it a lot. I'm also going to change the information here in my video. I put Valkyries and Angels. I really shouldn't do that. This is more of just a warm-up. And maybe I'll do some extra drawing, but for now, I think I'm going to go ahead and adjust. This is going to just be called warm-up session. How about that? How do you spell warm-up? Is it warm hyphen up? I don't know. I'm going to do that. Up session. And then I'm going to hit save. All right. Yeah. Let me go back to the channel. Uh-oh, I'm lost again. Dang it, I hate when this happens. Don't you hate it when you're trying to get back? For some reason, that's what happens all the time in YouTube. It doesn't give you a link back to the video, it just gives you that. All right, anyway. So like I said, so I'll be looking at the video here. Oh, 6 people are watching now. All right. I don't know if anybody's chatted any further. All right. So what I want to do is a warm-up. I'm going to kind of do some drawings that hopefully will kind of just get me. This is how I kind of get warmed up in anything. Normally a warm-up for me is just doing stuff that's fun. Hey, is that Siege? What's up, Siege? What's up, girl? That's my sister right there. Hey, so I'm going to go ahead and get myself squared away here. And let's talk a little bit about art and talk about designing characters, because that's one of the things I liked about Star Wars Rise of Skywalker were the character designs. Lots of cool things to look at. Not all of them. Some of them were kind of dumb. I guess the Felicity gal, I don't remember her name. She was supposed to be in the movie. She looked like a Power Ranger, which I didn't think fit into this movie. But it was a cool costume. It was a nice design. It just didn't fit that thing. Let's see. We got the Panadroid says, "What's up, everybody?" Farmer Dan says, "It's the Jerkmonger. She's just decorating my tree, bro." Oh, that's what I'm talking about. Fenrir, what's up? All right. So this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna switch over to my camera. Let's see. I'm gonna keep it on paper. Here we go. And as you can see, I kind of already started a couple of things. Here. I did this guy. I don't know what this guy is exactly. I had in my head like a Frankenstein guy, or maybe, I don't know. This guy looks like Green Lantern. I don't know. But this kind of falls in line with the style of drawing that I like to do, where I get to simplify my lines a little bit and stop worrying about drawing too many details. And it's more of like, I call it more of like a cartooning style. And when I say cartooning, I'm making reference to things like actual old school comic strips, cartooning. where they simplified the line a little bit more, and it wasn't quite as smudgy and overworked. I would argue actually this is a classic comic style, dating back to or harkening back to artists like Alex Toth or Toth or Toth, however you want to say it. Let's see. Amar's in the chat. What's up, Jerkmonger? Sharon, Marlo, how you doing? Can't stay but shared and liked. Merry Christmas and blessings all around. God bless you. You too. Farmer Dan says thanks. That looks like Hank wearing a domino mask. Not quite, not quite. Farmer Fire says the guy on the right reminds me of Street Fighter's Dalsim. Ah, that's kind of cool. Farmer Dan says, but not as fat. Well, okay, so let's talk about just, and this is something I want to keep working on as well. I want to expand the way that I work and talk a little bit more about, I just want to make it fun. Sometimes drawing comics is not fun. And it gets not fun when I'm trying to compete with other artists and their speed and what they do. I prefer just kind of simplifying and getting out my idea. Mike Oxmall says, I tried drawing a gorilla last night. Fur was too hard. Well, fur is tricky. That's tricky. It's taken me a while to figure that out too. And I still don't think I get it right. But all right, so I kind of started here. I'm going to draw with a different pencil. I'm going to grab my blue pencil. Maybe you'll see it easier. You can kind of see it. I'm hoping that this will appear better on YouTube. So I always kind of start with, this sort of like dome thing. I'm really fascinated with how other artists work. I really like to watch. One of my favorite things about Drawn and Quartered is actually getting to see some people produce their artwork along the way. It's a lot of fun. Papa Canessa says, rough deadlines can totally zap the fun away. That's true, Papa. That's true. But one of my favorite things to do is to conceptualize characters. And I like doing it based on shapes. So I'm always fascinated with the art of material. Like I'm really looking forward to the art of Rise of Skywalker. I didn't think I would like that movie, man, but I liked it. But I liked it for a lot of other reasons that some people would hate it for. So I don't know what to say about that. I want to see if I can adjust my camera a bit to get this stretched out a little more. But I don't want to interrupt my. I get this shadow on my stuff here, and I don't want to use it. All right, this is better. You can see it clearer. Farmer Dan says, my in-laws got me on Andrew Loomis book for Christmas. They visited this weekend, and we had a gift. Oh, that's great, Farmer. That's great. That's a great book. Anything by Loomis is great to get. Farmer says, I still think your Frankenstein painting was one of the best things I've seen this year. You don't see that medium a lot anymore. Well, thank you, man. I appreciate that. Well, so I kind of tend to construct in a basic Loomis-esque way, or how to draw comics the Marvel way. So what I'm doing here is I kind of build out what I think is the overall. I've talked about this 1,000 times, so forgive me if I'm treading old ground here, but or familiar ground. I just enjoy this a lot. But I'm showing you this because what I'm actually working more on is kind of like the way Matt Weldon works. I've been enjoying watching him work as well, and he has a very interesting style. It's a little bit treacherous the way he works, because he's he's going right into the contour, which is really beautiful. He manages the contour look very, very, very well. Kelsey, Shannon, what up, my dude? Hey, chat. I just made some crawfish etouffee. You'll take a break and come eat. Ha ha ha. I will. I don't know if I can, Kelsey. Kelsey, I miss you, man. I've been talking about you. I'm glad to see you in my chat, brother. I love you. I love you, man. All right, so when I watch Weldon work, I see what he does. He kind of goes for the contour. Now, one of the things I'm trying to do here is I'm building a construction here, underneath, I guess you can call it, what do you call that? Underdrawing, I guess. And this is kind of where I'm giving myself some borders, some things to build on, right? So if I was sculpting, I might start off with a wad of paper or something like this and wrap it around with tin foil, and I start to build that. That could be the core of the chest, or that could be the whatever. You start off with some sort of underdrawing. I like to think of drawing a lot like sculpting. So when I add another dimension, like this little round shape, this is his right cheekbone, right? So what I'm saying here is that I'm gonna kind of identify using the pencil, using line, to give the illusion of mass and volume. All right, I'm going to give him a little bit of a chin here, okay? And this is how I've been able. Now, I still do this, but I really don't have to anymore. I'm a little more adept at drawing these things a little better. So, thank you, Kelsey. I appreciate you, brother. Um, and so what I want to do here is I'm gonna continue to build stuff out. Now I like drawing guys with dumb looks and big bulky noses and stuff, because those guys are always the most interesting guys in the crowd. The people with some, you ever talk about like a beautiful woman and she's just kind of has generic features, like she's beautiful and all, she might even be a bombshell, but she's kind of generic. I like characters to have, go get it, Kelsey, go get you some grub. I like characters that have a little more to look at. I'll give you I'm gonna send you an email, Kelsey, so I'll be in touch very soon. I wanted to anyway, but mainly for Christmas time. Hey Ghostly, how you doing? Thanks for coming in. So you can see I'm kind of adding elements. I kind of know where the eyes go. If you guys want me to go through like a step-by-step on how to construct something, let me know. Because I'm assuming a lot, and that's just what I mean. Like, I'm able to go to the next phase of some of this, but it'll look very different. And that's the downside to shifting and adjusting work, is I end up kind of doing, sometimes my stuff looks different because I'm doing it in a different way. So Farmer Dan says, yes, please. All right. Well, let's see what I can do here. Let's see what I can do. Like I said, this is for me more of a warm-up time, but I'm happy to share with you guys. This is also helpful for me. A Loomis video from you would be cool. That's an interesting idea. That'd be kind of cool to kind of go over Loomis stuff and discuss it. That's a really good idea, actually. I think I have one of those old school downloaded PDFs I can use to put it on screen so we can talk about it that way. All right, so I'm just drawing a generic. Now this is a generic guy, but at least he's got character. At least he's gonna be interesting. He's gonna have a big, front nose, maybe a Roman nose. Like I might build a bridge across. His bridge might be a little more forward or something like that. I also like to draw them with somewhat, like I need to be more like Mike and give you guys a specific, what do you call it? Talk about the anatomy appropriately. I don't know any of the words. I know what they are. I just don't know what they're called. The lip muscle, whatever that is. Baba says art books and how-tos in general. That'd be nice. All right. Well, that's kind of what this is then. Like I said, I started out with your basic oval shape. I'm thinking of this in a 3/4 way. So obviously there's different ways to think about a sphere, right? We can go, and this is what's covered in How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way. Normally you can kind of cut the sphere in quadrants, and from there you can kind of, fill out the difference here. But you normally start off with that. This is usually the cranium, right? The casing that holds your brain. So that's an important element. Awful Redneck Gaming, what's going on? Terry Owe, what's going on? Jalapeno says there's like a million Loomis videos, which cool, but I like your style. Makes it easy to sift through what works for me. All right, well, Jalapeno, I'm gonna do it all. I'm gonna keep doing stuff like this and just kind of go through it, and you guys can always comment and ask for different stuff. I'm happy to do that with you guys. And one of the things I think I'm gonna do this next coming year as part of my program, I'm actually working on developing a program for my YouTube channel. And if I'm going to incorporate how-to videos, I'm going to actually schedule that. So for those of you who don't get my what do you call it, notifications, I'm going to try to do this for you guys, so that way there's a schedule. I'll post a schedule maybe on my board here, and then if you guys want to come in and watch, you're welcome to come in, and you can share with your friends and everything like that, so it's a little easier. What do you use for blue pencils? I use this is a coal erase from Prismacolor. This is Tuscan Red, and the blue one I'm using is Indigo Blue. So let's go over this a little bit more. Starlight Cherie says, hello Monger, I hope all is well. And which Loomis book do you have? I have digital copies of all of them, but I'm starting to replace them with physical copies, because I actually like that in my library. I want to be able to see that a little bit different. But the digital ones are cool because I can expand on my iPad. All right, so as you can see, my guy here, he's got a cranium. So this is the base of the head, right? Meeting the base of the neck right here. So I'm going to go ahead and create the neck. There's always this muscle on this chunk of flesh This, if you turn your head, you can feel it. I know you smarter guys have names for this stuff. I don't have a name for it. It's like the neck. It's right at that. It's on either side of the larynx. These muscles. Mike knows them. Like and share. Thanks. Oh, thank you, awful. I appreciate that. Thank you, Farmer Dan. All right. So, like I said, I'm hoping that next year I'll come up with some solutions to that, and you guys can come in anytime. And one of the things I'm thinking about doing in the past, I've often considered doing how-to videos and make them as something monetizable. I still think that's important, but what I find is that, I'm just going to try to just share with you guys as much as I can and leave some sort of legacy with you guys. And if it's basically going to be free education. So, I'm going to try to express to you guys the years of experience I have drawing anything. And if it helps you, awesome. If it doesn't help you, well, don't worry. There's plenty of other people you can go to and learn from them. But I'm going to try my best to do it. And it's not going to be great all the time, but hopefully we'll cover this thing. So I'm really going to rely on you guys to let me know what you want to see. I'm going to try to keep them concise, so they won't always be in a live stream, but I want to share with you guys. So let's do it together. All right. So a lot of times I give my guys fat necks. Where does that come from? Well, I'm a big fan of Joe Madureira. I've been a fan of his. I love the aesthetic of the giant upper body and the small head. It looks like a cool, strong action figure. I have a couple around me here and there. I'll have one too far away. But anyway, I have some up there, like Hellboy, like that kind of thing. So I like giving my guys that kind of look. But I also like to do things in this other style that I'm talking about, where it's a little more condensed as far as, or I should say, economical. I'm going to use that word a lot. I like to talk about the economy of line, the importance of economy. So when I'm drawing, I like to kind of like keep things simple, and I might use shapes for hair, like I did here, instead of drawing every piece of hair. But that gets a little tricky. Farmer Dan says, like Bruce Timm. Yeah. Bruce Timm's a great example, Farmer Dan. Great example. So let's see how this goes. All right, so I'm going to give this guy some hair, but because he's a tough guy, one of the things I do a lot is I'll reduce the space between the top of the head and the brow. And the reason why I do that is if I want to do an intelligent person, I'll keep the brow higher. It'll be higher, like it represents a larger space for a brain, meaning that the character is more intelligent. I reduce that size, and that makes him look a little dumber, like a dinosaur, like a T-Rex, or like the Hulk is a good example. Whenever you have that aesthetic, it always dumbs down the character. It makes him less intelligent. So again, like Reed Richards should have a tall cranium, taller. It doesn't have to be super tall, just taller. More proportionate to a normal human being. And if he's going to be a dumb thug, then give him a shorter top. And again, someone like Mike Miller would say that's because Mike Miller's hardcore on like specific, like straightforward anatomical stuff. He may still draw that character. Like in real life, people don't all really have up, taller and lower taller foreheads or not. But in the comic world, when you're translating an idea like intelligence, how else can you do it except through graphics? So this is just another way to communicate that idea. He's going to have a lower crest of the dome, right? I could go higher, but that would make him more intelligent. At least that's the thinking. And listen, you can make up. This is one thing about comic art, is that it is art. You can make up anything. It might be throwaway art to some people, but it's still a way to kind of communicate. You're using a different language, so it's all right sometimes if you make up your own language, as long as you're consistent. So that's why, like an artist like Frank Miller, when he draws a comic book like Eyebrow Ridigus Majors, whatever. When he draws Sin City, his style is very coarse and very sometimes ugly. And when he draws his women, if I took a Frank Miller woman and compared it, say, to a Jim Lee woman, for example, Jim Lee really worked on drawing very beautiful, very exotic looking but almost like supermodel styled women. So those we normally connect with beauty and like uh, uh, um, lust and things like that. When you see a Frank Miller drawing, if you were to put them together, you'd be like, what the heck is that? It's all crusty and grungy. Well, what we do instead is, as long as his woman is more beautiful than his ugly man, then you kind of make the mental connection. So as I said, however you decide you want to translate the idea or the concept of what you're trying to express, just be consistent. If you have a dumb guy with a low brow or low cranium or whatever we're talking about, headus tallus, Milleris minoris. Let's see. I don't think anyone can ever match the ugly beauty of Frank Miller art. That's fair. Milleris familius. I like the simplicity of Batman Year One. Yeah. Well, okay. So Batman Year One, that wasn't drawn by Frank Miller, but that was drawn by. He did Daredevil. Oh gosh, I can't believe I forgot his name. It escapes me right now. Anyway, Loomis keeps popping up in my head. That's not his name. Anyway, his work is kind of like what I'm trying to do more of too. He's got a more Alex Toth approach to things. Less lines, less noise and stuff like that. No, but still simple and good. Yeah. I gotcha. But anyway, so like I said, just stay consistent. Whatever you do, be consistent with your line. Be consistent with your shapes. Be consistent with the language that you're using. And you want to stay consistent. Imagine if you went to a country that you never understood the language in the past, and you start talking to that person, and you learn the language, and then you go away for a while, you come back, and they changed the language on you, right? Or let's say from home to home in that country, they spoke another language, and yet they're all expecting you, you're expected to understand how to follow the street map to the next place. It's not going to happen. So you, as the god of this world, right? You're creating something, you're designing something. Design implies intelligence. It implies order. So maybe a different order from someone else's order, but it's specific. So keep that in mind. All right, so in my language, I have chosen to follow in the footsteps of some other people, where my thugs and my big guys tend to have small heads, some short heads. But David Mazzucchelli, thank you, Terry. Dang, I kept forgetting him. He's also did Daredevil Born Again, which I have both those in larger formats. All right, I've talked enough about that. All right, so another thing that you got to get better at too, and again, even if you do something wrong, right? So for example, I was studying another artist named Tanki Zanyik. He's from, I want to say, not the Ukraine. He's not a Ukrainian artist. I forget where he's from. Somewhere in Eastern Europe. I was looking at him and how he was simplifying his work, kind of like Chris Samnee. I love those guys, right? So they simplify their work. Bruce Timm simplifies his work. So I was looking at the way he's drawing ear, and I was thinking, man, I remember Mike Miller telling me, you're gonna hear me call on Mike Miller a lot, because he's my example of someone who's he likes to do things, very anatomical, very correct. I'm saying that sometimes you might need to adjust depending on what you're doing. So I noticed that Tanki, I don't even care. No one's going to say, oh my gosh, his art's fantastic, but the way he draws ears looks ridiculous. You don't say that kind of stuff. You just look at the art and go, oh, that's really cool. So as long as he continues to do it the same way, it may not be right, but it's the same way. So you develop a visual language, okay? I would recommend as well that if we're talking about style here, just be sure that within the style, that you're not mixing too many different styles. So I've seen styles where people draw comic book proportions, like a Jim Lee proportion, but they'll kind of put a goofy, like, I don't know, like a dopey, not dopey, oh my god, like a dopey Smurf head. Like, if you're gonna do cartooning, like, say, if you're gonna do something like this, where the character's nose is big and bulbous, and he's got big eyes, right? I mean, it could be cool if you did it this way, I guess. But let's see. Anyway, if you go like this, and his hair's like this, like an old comic strip, like a Charles Schultz thing or something else, and then you give him a real neck, Again, it could be cool, a comic book style neck, and or something like this. I don't know. If you do weird stuff and you try to mash them all together, sometimes you get a cool look, but a lot of times you're gonna get a like mud. It's almost like when you mix too many colors together, it just turns brown, or not even brown, like a weird greenish brown. That's kind of how I think happens when people mix too many styles. So, or I shouldn't say too many styles, too many distinctive styles. I would say try to keep it simple for yourself. You could always modify it and adjust later and see what works. And remember, your audience you may not care what your audience thinks until you want them to pay you for it. So be thoughtful of that too. If you want to sell work, make sure you're thinking ahead that this needs to be what we used to call marketable or saleable. This needs to be pleasing to the eye. There's other words I always tend to forget. But anyway, Farmer Dance is off topic, but I like the red and black DOOMKICKER look. Makes it seem creepy and otherworldly. That was by design. Thank you for pointing that out, Farmer. All right, so I did all that to talk about the ear. I'm saying that because maybe this is not the perfect ear, but I give him a little lobe too. I always do a little extra lobe. But I think that's me trying to find a way to express the idea how to do it. As long as you're consistent. I mean, you might get a guy who's like super hardcore about anatomy. That's not how you draw. I love everything about him, but the way he draws ears, that's okay. I can live with you hating my ears, but I can't live with you hating everything that I draw. So I want to, because I want you to buy into it. You're my customer. All right. So let's give this guy some hair. Right. So like I did here, I'm going to kind of create some shapes that I think I like. And in fact, I'm going to erase down some of this that I drew on top, because one of the reasons why I use blue is because when I use black or regular pencil, I have a hard time drawing over it. It just gets messy and noisy and I can't see it well. Farmer Dan says, if you say it's stylistic choice, you can excuse your poor art. I'm learning a lot today. It's not poor art. Again, I get the joke, but just in case someone else doesn't understand, it's not that I'm advocating poor art. I'm saying that whatever language you choose to use, like Charles Schulz figured out a way to draw Charlie Brown and the rest of the characters. He figured out a way so that the fingers, he didn't draw realistic hands on Charlie Brown, just like, who's the guy that drew Calvin and Hobbes? Watterson didn't draw realistic hands on Calvin. He kept the realistic stuff for the realistic stuff. Does that make sense? Realistic hands belong on realistic or pseudo-realistic. Cartoon hands, well, you can do 3 fingers on a cartoon because you understand, your brain is connecting the dots and say, oh, that's a cartoon. And it's one of the things that kind of hurt some animation, I think, in the 90s. There was too much pushing and pulling, as you know. That's a whole other topic. But anyway, Farmer Dan says, I'm learning, but my inner troll is hard to control. Jalapeno says, a friend told me that beginning artists who say their shortcomings are their style is bad. I think that that's true, but it's about how you bend, and you have to learn how to bend the rules, but you can't break them. You have to bend them. Some people break the rules and go, oh, it's my style. That's my style. Well, no. And most people can tell that's not real. But when you see everything else simplified and all you get is 2 lines here for the ear, you excuse it because you understand that the rest of the style is simple. Now, if I was doing portraiture, photorealistic portraiture, you can't do that. You can't get away with that because it looks like a photograph. So you're expecting the rest of it to be photographic, and you're going to notice that guy's ear looks like cauliflower. So unless he's an MMA fighter, you need something more than just a couple of lines. That's when you have to be more specific. But I'm just laying down some groundwork for you guys. Farmer Dan says, even Frank Miller drew more traditionally before he did the style he is known for. That's true. It was a conscious decision, not a mistake. Jalapeno says, it's like when you trip and you say, I meant to do that. No one trips on purpose. Okay. So I'm going to give this guy, I like to draw guys like this with a slick hairstyle. Now, typically, right? Typically, when you have hair like I do, I'm just kidding. Typically, your hair, for guys, you push it back because the front of the hair is leaning on all the other hair in the back, right? especially if you get it cut short on the back, you're not going to have as much volume back here to puff out the top, the puff out everywhere. So it's going to look like the top is, it bulges up higher. So I'm going to give him a bit of a more volume or mass up here in the front of his head versus the back. Because typically guys, especially a gangster guy, this is my gangster thug guy, he has the hair comes up here. Maybe he pushes it back. Maybe he slicks it back. Maybe he uses the stuff from Oh Brother Where Art Thou, Dapper Dan, and he slicks it or whatever. And so that's going to be how the front of his hair looks. And if I really want to make him look a little dumber, maybe a little older, take my eraser, I start the hair a little further back on the head. If you guys remember a guy in the comic called X Factor, there was a guy called Strong Guy, I think his name was. He kind of looks like this. He had a weird doily looking thing in the top, but you know, we're going to excuse that for now. So I'm going to give him this look. And it's going to be real clean. My grandfather had hair like this. He did the whole DA thing. What wasn't a DA? I used to call it DA. All right, so I'm going to give him some longer, you know, sideburns. Not quite pork chops. Never read X Factor, Farmer? Yeah, it's all right. The Larry Stroman stuff I like. It's where that guy was in, but I don't like all the stuff. I can't. I thought about trying to go back and finding old comics like that. I don't care enough about it. So, all right, I'm gonna also erase right along the bridge. I want him to have that deeper bridge, right? I know the names of this stuff. It comes up like if you're developing a character in Skyrim, it tells you what these things are. So think about it like you're playing in Skyrim, building up your character in polygons. All right? All right, so now I gave him a little bit of jowl, whatever you call that muscle there. And I give him a mouth. Keep the mouth thin, unless you're going to draw a feminine man. I mean, if you want to draw a feminine man, that's fine. Then there's some things you can do. You can give him fuller lips. But typically in this language, the line, a simple line is just enough. And you see a lot in animation. You get this right here, you're good to go. That's all you need to do. You don't have to go much farther. I tend to kind of draw in this little fold on the lip. I'll draw that in there sometimes, but you got to be careful because sometimes it looks like a smirk. So I'll often keep it. Another thing I can do to make a character look a little more serious is I bring the mouth, and this is an expression thing. I shorten the width of the mouth this much. So it looks like he's more pursing his lips, or not quite puckering, but you know, and this kind of gets a little tight right here. All right. All right, so you kind of see what's going on there. Are you guys tracking with me? Is this still useful to you so far? Let me know. Let me know. If this is boring anybody, give me a holla. All right. So overall, I feel like this is pretty well constructed. I'm going to draw something else in a little bit and give you some more. All right, so I'm going to tighten up his hair a little bit. Don't forget to bring in the back of the hairline. You know, when you go to the barbershop, men, when we go to barbershops, we get haircuts. They'll say, do you want a rounded line? Do you want a squared off line for your neck, or do you want it faded? So it's hard enough to draw a fade. That's difficult. There's tricks you can do, and I know some, but I don't want to draw that every time. I like giving classic bad guys classic bad guy features, classic features like hair and stuff like that. All right, I'm also going to give this guy a tie. He's a gangster. He's a well-dressed gangster. He works for the mob, maybe. I'm going to give him the edge of the jacket. All right, that's all I need for now. I'm not drawing the whole thing. All right, so I think I'm ready to start inking this. I feel like I have enough information here to kind of give him a sense. My volume is really low. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be too low. My mic is high. Maybe this is where my mic was. I'm trying to keep the mic shadow off of the art. All right, anyway. So you see this guy? This guy looks like an alien to me, right? Because he's got a gigantic cranium. Super tall. That means he's got an alien brain in there. Especially characters that are like really brainy. They get that too. Also, but look, I gave him a wide jaw. Look where his jaw is there. That's tricky. So now he looks like he's kind of extra wide. So he's got a confusing look. But this guy, he's got a good square jaw, and he's got a normal cranium. See, his was more average. All right. So for today's inking, I'll be using a combination, at least to begin with, of these two pens. These are my Kuretake, I think they're Fude pens. They're basically brush. People call them brush pens. They're not really brush pens. They're Fude pens, right? So they have this like spongy. Let me see. You're not gonna be able to see it well. Kind of has like a spongy marker, but it's not as, like those sign poster markers, like a Sharpie. They're not as hard as a Sharpie, but they're a little softer, but not too soft. I used to use something called a Mars Duo 3000 something, and those had real spongy things. Tombos have a little spongy tips. This is a little more regular. There's two colors. There's a turquoise. I don't know if you can see that. I'm gonna wait to see if it shows up on the screen. There's two colors. There's the turquoise, and then there's a blue, like a dark blue. Let me see if it shows up. Yeah, you can barely see the difference there. On the screen on YouTube, it looks black. It's like a navy blue, and this is a turquoise. It has a little bit of speckles in it, little sparkly speckles, little sparkly speckles. Let me see if I can just do this instead. Does this help at all? Yeah, this makes it look worse. Anyway, as you can see. So just remember, it's a turquoise color and a blue color. That's all you need to know. All right, the turquoise is I think it's extra fine, and this one is fine, or it could be medium and fine. I don't know, but the blue is bigger than the turquoise. So I'm going to start off with the turquoise, mainly because now Chris Somney starts off with the blue, the larger one. But where are my glasses? I don't have them. We'll risk it. The difference in size is not that crazy. Sparkly speckles. Hey, Cosmetti, how are you? Good to see you. Let's see. But I like there's a little more control, and that's a little bit of a flaw in my thinking. I like having more control over my work, generally. I don't always need as much control, say, as a pen nib, although those are fine as well. But what I do like is being able to at least get the line in general into what I have here. I want to kind of complete it somehow or another. Not complete it, but like have it some kind of finished spot or something. But what's nice about you do want to get to the point where you can control something that's a little harder. That's why I like painting in watercolor, because if you can practice controlling watercolor, you can paint anything. It's just a matter of the materials you use. So, hit my elbow there. So I'm going to go ahead and, now I like to draw quick lines like that, and that's not always good either, because it'll force, sometimes that gets out of control. So it's nice to be able to draw a nice controlled line. Just keep it nice if you want it to look nice, right? Justin McClure, how you doing, man? Thanks for coming. All right, so I like to draw the edge of the nose like that. Can you see that okay? Kind of see how it's coming along. All right, let's put that back. All right, so now I'm going to draw I'd like to start with the top of the eyelid, or the top eyelid, just to establish a little weight on the top of the eye. That's better. If you put too much weight on the bottom of the eye, then it makes it look a little more feminine. It's like wearing mascara. You expect there to be a little more boldness in the top eyelid or the eyelash line, but you don't expect it too much. In fact, you could almost get away with it by not putting it in. If you look at the way that Superman animated series was, I actually have one to the side. It was just a little a line at the top and a little loop for the iris. That's all you need. But I am going to include a little bit of it right there because I'm an idiot, and I just talked about doing things a little bit more simplified, and here I'm adding more stuff. But that's the big challenge when you're shifting art styles, is to try to remember why would you do this art style if you're not going to try to simplify it? You know what I mean? So But I've already done some simplification. It's not quite as noodly as I would normally draw. You can see some of this in my work on DOOMKICKER. Looks a little like this. Now I'm adding too many lines again, but hopefully it'll all work out. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and, for his hair, I'm going to make it a little more interesting shapes. Now I get very shape centric when I start doing hair or things like this. I like to give it an interesting, it's not going to be just a flat thing, although that's fine too. But I don't want to go crazy and just let the brush strokes determine this edge of the hair. I try to control it. Again, I like this one. I just did a interesting shape, right? All right, don't forget to draw the inside edge of his hair around his widow's peak. I might have to adjust my angle here. Don't be afraid to turn the paper around when you're trying to create or ink something. Don't stay rigid to just that one spot. You're gonna hurt yourself. Dark Arrow March says, just popped in to give a thumbs up driving. Oh, thank you, Dark. I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much, man. All right. So I also try to give different things different texture in the line. So notice how I gave this quick hook here on the ear. I do a little quickie thing there. Since I like to take it a little slower and smoother, like I did there. I'm going to finish this ear off here. Like I said, this may not be a perfect ear. I'm sure if Mike were here, he'd give me a gig, but I don't care right now. All right. I also like to kind of break up the shape with some extra, think about like in anime, you kind of see these lines that come off that make up clumps of hair. It's kind of the same idea, but you're just trying to create, again, texture and volume. Maybe I'll come back later and I'll do something else to that. All right. Dun, 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 dun. How long have I been on now? I've been on for about, doesn't say. How long have I been on? Why would this not be squared away? So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to add this.
You like Spanish candies from Puerto Rico?
Yeah, I like those. Thanks, babe.
From Jenny.
Oh, yeah. Oh, is that the sesame seed candy in there? Oh, snap. I should probably share that with you, my little Puerto Rico haul. I'm going to add a little more volume here because I don't like it was too far back and leaning the wrong way. Jerk's hair is number one. Thank you. Awful, man. He's so good. He's so good to me. All right, so already we kind of are feeling. I also like to do this just under the cheekbone. You don't have to do this, but I'm looking on the screen. It has it. I'm going to add a little line there, maybe a little dot that goes after that, just to show that there's like this ridge under the cheekbone, the meaning that cheekbones are high. 42 minutes. Okay, thanks, Hermit. I appreciate it, brother. So this right here, this is where my now. I have high cheekbones. My mom has high cheekbones. Some people they're more chubby. I've never seen anybody with a low cheekbone. Although when I draw skulls, I tend to draw them the same way. That's kind of how I feel my skull. Some people do have lower, at least features for the most part. But it works. All right, so I'm going to go ahead now. I'm let it cook for a little minute, let it dry a little bit, and then I'm going to take my dry erase bag and knock down those blue lines again, so that you can kind of see it. I like keeping some of the blue there because it makes it look fun. Why was Farmer Dan hidden? Unhidden. Good. Hush, Hermit. Don't tell him that. What the Hermit? Kidding though. All right. So you see there, I got that, but you notice that the lines they don't have as much character. So that's why I'm going to switch now to the blue. The blue pen marker gives you a little more character in the line. It's just showed that on my screen. I didn't do anything. Oh, I'm sorry, Arthur. I'm sorry, brother. I'm sorry. All right, I'm going to go ahead and do this. And what I like to do is just add a little more volume to a line towards the bottom of the stroke. Like that. So I start off small and then I come heavier there. And that gives you just enough character in your line so that whatever's underneath, it's like if you saw something with an object with a shadow, you expect the shadow to be underneath. If it's above, it's got a different look altogether. And I feel like I messed up there, right? I could fake it, but one of the great things about this, as long as your marker or your ink dries fast enough, and on this paper it does, get yourself a nice jelly roll. I use the number 10 jelly roll. You see that? Number 10. Oops. This isn't gonna focus. I don't know why I'm doing this, but anyway, just so you can see it. Jelly roll 10. This is my favorite one to use of all the jelly rolls. 5 never works well enough. 10 works really good. All right. Now, overall, I'm pretty happy with this, right? But you might be saying, but Elliot, what about the hair? Is he blonde? Does he have white hair? Maybe. D-Fresh, I should be doing laundry, but this is mesmerizing. Oh, man, well, thank you. Now, this is where you can grab a brush. And so I'm going to grab my Pentel Pocket Brush Pen, which is my pen, my brush of choice. I have several different types of brushes. I have the regular brush pens. I have all sorts of stuff, but I like using this. So what I like to do first is I like to come up with a texture for this stuff. Now notice I left a gap. I left a gap there. That's so I can separate. I messed up the gap. I'm trying to separate that clump of hair, that band of hair from the other band of hair. I'm going to go ahead and adjust. Dun, dun, dun. See, that's better. And I feel like this might be too much too. So let's go ahead and correct. Correct where you can. Correct where you can. Okay. Now I've seen guys like Somni just plow through this with the brush pen, the Fude pen, the Kuretake that I was using. I'm going to try not to do that. Another thing I like to do is I like to create, instead of taking the black all the way to the edge, it's almost like creating a highlight. Here, I'm going to do it over here too because I like it a lot. Okay, I'll leave one piece sticking out there. I'm going to do the same thing to this part. Notice I don't go all the way to the edge. That gives it a nice sheen, and sometimes you can do it on the opposite side, but I'm going to control myself here because you can go crazy with this and it goes bad fast. But as long as you have, maybe I'll give him Reed Richards hair on the white hair on the side, right? So if you want to keep that going, just keep the breakaway between those bands nice and tight. I needed this inspiration, else says Arthur. I've been drawing backgrounds all day and that turns one brain to mush. Yes, yes it does. All right, I'm going to take this further. Okay. And I'm just kind of filling it in with the brush. You don't want to beat up a Fude pen by doing this. You can. I've seen some people do a pretty good job, but I prefer just kind of, I'm going to draw it in now with the brush. I prefer to keep it simple and use a tool that's meant to cover large areas versus beating up another pen. If you don't like I'm not crazy about this right here. If you don't like that in there, you can always block it out for now. We'll let it dry. This ink I'm using is platinum carbon ink. You see me use it a lot. That's my favorite ink to use. Unfortunately, the spot that I want to fix there is still wet, but I'm going to go ahead and create a couple of little thin lines in here. Again, if the paper's too wet, the jelly roll won't roll on it too much. That's one of the downsides to using them too soon. Sometimes it's good to wait till the whole thing's dry. Where's my brush? So now I'm going to use this last one. I'm going to use it back here. Same thing, doing the same trick. I don't want to run it to the very edge of the hair because then it just looks like a fill-in. Now you can do that. Some artists do that with great execution. I'm just controlling myself. Now, the whole thing about line is that you're dealing with graphic shapes to create the illusion of gradients and things like that. Papa Canessa says, I need to get that. Is it something I can get at Blick or is it special? Yes, Papa Canessa, you can get it on Blick. I was just there today and they certainly have it in the stores. Now again, I'm showing you guys this style is meant for like, this is not like how I would do a real clean Olivier Coipel look, if that's what you're trying to achieve. And these little things like this, see, I'm kind of adding little triangular hooks on that. It gives it the sense of solid black to halftone. And that's kind of what we're trying to do, is create that illusion. And it looks really cool when it's done right. And you know you did it wrong when you don't think it's cool. All right, some of that other ink dried, so I'm going to go back in. See? As soon as it dries, it was manageable. Now, another little trick I like to do when I'm drawing stuff like this, I like to add these little texture lines. I see it a lot in Chris Somney's work, Tony Zaniak. By the way, Tonki Zaniak, he also, I think it's Tonki. It's called this Tonci. I want to keep calling him Tony, but I don't think it's what it is. If you look at his, if you want to see some of his work, he did some recent stuff on a book called Lobster Johnson for Dark Horse. Another great artist that works in a similar fashion, in this Alex Toth-centric look, is Snijberg. Is it Peter Snijberg? I think it's Snijberg. Whatever. He did. Well, he's been around for a while. I think he did some stuff on Swamp Thing in the old days, but he's also done some other stuff at Wildstorm and An Image. Another great artist. So they'll do this sometimes. I like to add that there because it gives it the, like, it's a quick language. I know it's just not much. These little hatches that almost give it the sense of like, oh, there's a texture. So it looks like my hair. If you just took my hair and if you were drawing me and you just drew, I know I'm balding, whatever, but I know if you draw the shape and you fill it in with black, it could look like a helmet, right? But you could also do it the opposite way. Where's my pen? You can also go do the same thing here and add some. I'm trying to find where I want to put it. I'm going to fix this too while I'm at it. Okay. Now I just added that same texture in the negative in white. I'll show you. And you can barely see it, but it's there. It's more apparent in real life. Let me put the white on there. All right. So already it looks like there's more to it. You didn't see me do like I was doing the Chewbacca the other day. I mean, that's still a cool look. It's just, you're just trying to find other ways. Let me see here. Arthur says, Farmer Dan, are you still here, brother? I have no idea what just happened. It said I muted you when I came in. It also says you unhid him, so hopefully he's back. Here. And I'm gonna add a couple extra lines. I shouldn't do this. Looks like a mob boss. Exactly. I'm gonna add another, I forget what you call this. There's that little spot in the lip and upper lip. I might do that. See what I did there? All right. I also feel like the mouth is too wide, so I'm gonna shrink it down. I'm gonna shove it back into the middle of his face. Looks like a mob boss. Yeah, I read that. Thank you, Justin. Because it's probably still wet, I'm gonna dab it with the pen. All right. Then, if you really want to make them look more ape-like, I like characters like this because it looks like they are. They're like primates in suits. I love mob boss gang characters. Makes me think of like James Bond. How the modern James Bond, the current one, they say that he's from the streets essentially, even though he may have history at Skyfall, but he was a rugged guy that they turned into an agent. So you're dressing up a gorilla basically. I'm drawing the edge of his Adam's apple there. All right. And again, if you want to create a little bit of texture, like he has maybe stubble on the back of his neck. Now this you could do all day long, but you got to be careful. This defeats the purpose. I'm just giving you options in one drawing. Justin says, yeah man, I need a modern day Elliot's version of Dick Tracy. I might do that. You do it there on his neck, and now he's got a little bit of stubble on his neck. Sometimes people who have this simpler style are like Chris Somney, Snijberg, who else I have here? You guys know Marcos Martin. He worked on Spider-Man for a little while. Yep. Paulo Rivera, who also worked on Spider-Man and Daredevil. Uh, and yeah, Mazzucchelli. Um, Peter Peter Snidgeberg. That's who it is. Let me show you this book. Well, I could show you Tonki. I can show you Tonki. So this is one of the books, Lobster Johnson. This is the artist. You can kind of see his signature there, kind of. When he does something real similar in this way. Look see how he has very clean shapes and pieces, like that. Like that's cool. And if you want, you could always add in black shapes, like he did here, for more drama. And I wouldn't use this. I wouldn't use this style, say on on a character who's happy. I would choose this language for someone that's a little more on the what do you call it? I just read that. You can only take Dick Tracy if you have a wrench. Oh, sorry about that. I would reserve this for darker stories, darker characters, not happy characters. This guy isn't happy. He clearly leads a group of guys, and they do bad things in life. Look at this stuff. I love this artist. He's so good. Look how he's simplified. And that's why I respect so much guys like Matt Cosson. I really love his work. And Matt Weldon. Matt Weldon takes a more Matt Weldon spends as much time as anybody else would spend drawing elaborate things, but he simplified his forms so he can spend the time on the shading. So he has a very cool shading technique. Unfortunately, it looks better in I think his style works better in like commission work versus comics. Not that it doesn't if he would produce his comics in black and white, I'd be blown away. But sometimes the color, his shading is so subtle that sometimes you lose it. But Costin has chosen a more Bruce Timm approach, and which has that kind of look. So you can see this. Look how simplified that guy is. Again, very Alex Toth. It's just a mustache. Like at this scale of the art, I would love to blow this up to see what this is here, but see how simple it's just a mustache, a little notch on the chin, and done. And then on the bigger, a larger version of that, he's not that different. So that's the approach. And by the way, this is all like about studying. This is how you study artists and how they work, so you can understand what to apply to your work. So I did some other drawings like this recently. Again, I was doing a lot of weird stuff, and you can kind of see the same thing here. Again, sometimes I put in too many lines, but maybe that's my thing. At the end of the day, if I feel like I need to add more stuff, then that may be the way I see the world. But I always try to push for a reduction in my style, so I can have a little more room to I feel like this stuff is easier to show acting. If everything you're doing is all these little lines and notches everywhere, sometimes acting goes away. That's why I've not always been crazy about Jim Lee or what's his name, the Youngblood guy, Rob Liefeld. I like them. I get it. They're exciting to look at. Doc Shaner's another guy with that to spark. You're right, Pablo Canesso. He's also in my collection. I'll tell you the guys that I pay attention to who do all this. I'm more interested in the characters acting. I used to not care about that. I used to draw everybody I drew used to be like, that's all. But I want to learn. I'm curious about how do you draw a woman with like not just a bedroom eyes, but what if you want to draw a girl who's going, I don't know, like that. I want to achieve that. Or a guy's going, oh man, what did I just do? Like, what happens to the eyes when I do this? Or the mouth? Can I twist my mouth in such a way where I can express the idea of confusion more? Stuff like that is super achievable in this style. If all you're doing is hatching everywhere, you'll get caught up with the hatching and not enough with the acting. All right. This is my favorite guy right here. This guy's awesome. He's like, I got teeth. This guy's cool. He looks kind of like a Jack Kirby designed character, and I love this guy. He looks like the guy from Space 1999. I forget the name of it. Martin Landau, I think is what his name was. But anyway, Doc Shaner. So who are some of those guys I pay attention to? Doc Shaner. Let's see. Bruce Timm, absolutely. Bruce Timm, Doc Shaner, Marcos Martin, Paulo Rivera, Peter Snedberg. Snedberg is SNEJBERBJRJ. Snip New York. I don't know. Tonki Zanyik, Chris Somney. Ooh, Chris Somney's the hot one. If you guys can key into that guy will teach you tons. Teach you tons. And you know, I have a little sketchbook that I purchased recently just to for when I'm in the car ride waiting for my kids at school. I did something. I still kept some of those fancier lines and a little more drawing, and that's what I mean. You can always raise the temperature on this stuff. If you want to make it more line intensive, go for it, because you created for yourself a good base, a good underdrawing or structure for your drawing. Here, this character here, you know, again, who is he? I don't know, but he's cool. I like him. I wonder why he could barely. I can't get too close. I don't have the focus on. Ben Stenbeck. Is he a? Sounds like Stenbeck is a guy who does Hellboy stuff. Another artist that I would recommend for those of you who feel like maybe that style is too overly simplified, then someone like Ryan Otley is a great example. He does a lot of the same tricks but adds a few more lines and shapes. So like you can see here on is it Omni-Man, I think it is. He's got a few more pieces of hair sticking up. His main character, Invincible, has more stuff. Eve clearly has some extra lines in her hair. But see how she's pouting? Like, that's important. If you want to learn how to... I would definitely look at Ryan Otley. But in this book, the reason why I have this one is because it's not just Ryan Otley, but Walker. Is it Kevin Walker? He was the earliest... He was the first artist on Invincible. What is his name? Let me just make sure it's him. I don't want to throw you guys off. Corey Walker. There's a Kevin Walker, somebody else. His style is very similar to what I just showed you. His stuff is a little more. You see how he put a little more energy into the hair? Like there's a little more energy. You can barely see it in this. I hope it shows it better. Yeah, it shows it better on YouTube. That's you can raise the temperature a little bit like that. Like that's not quite as basic as my drawing I showed you, but it's it's not as heavy, right? Let's see. I love the way he draws females. He draws the lips. This is where I got those puffy lips that Doug complains about with me. But look at this stuff. This is, oh man, I love this. This looks like vinyl action figures to me, which I love. I love how simple and the shapes are. See, I just love that. Look at that face. See, I've been studying Corey's work for a long time. He was one of the first guys that kind of started to break me out of this like obsession with ticky lines. Dang, that reminds me, I have to finish collecting those Invincible trades. I had all of them, but I just kept the ones that had Otley's recent work and Corey Walker's work. Look at that face. That's a great face. So if you ever wonder, like, I don't always look at his work for this, but you can look at his work, Ryan Otley's work, for expressions and stuff like that. But we both kind of come to the same place, to the same result. Hurry up and finish the other project. What other project are we talking about? So let me. So the next thing you can do after you've done this much, you can get another brush. This one here is my. I have a wash in this brush. It has a brown thing in here. Making sure I have any more ink in here. Oh, I'm almost out of ink in this one. Am I? Almost. In this one, we'll draw in some nice little extra little grays to represent some soft tones. I might do it in the darkest spots, like maybe here along the edge of that line, maybe down here, right? Maybe I come underneath here. This is when you're adding like for like a grayscale. You don't have to do this. I like to leave my art at this stage where I have it, but there's nothing wrong with doing this either, and it does add a sense of quality to the drawing. You see what I'm saying? You can always come in here in the ear if you don't want to go completely dark, which I could have, but I didn't. And I probably should have, but I just kind of fill it in there. And then if you want to, you could always kind of add a little gray to this to add a that third level of tone. So now you have more of like almost, you can do this in the computer, by the way. That's another way to do it. Right there. And maybe he's got a suit. Well, you know what else? I'll add it to underneath his brow. Right? And maybe a little underneath there for the sake of dimension. Right? All right, so that's fun. That's fun. It's a little bit dark, but it's in between somewhere between white and black. We'll add some. I like to do the same thing where I don't like to fill in everywhere. I like to leave a little bit of white edge, and that's so I can give it a sense of like light hitting the object. So in this case, his lapel on the suit. Maybe I'll add a little tone here so I don't have to draw the whole thing, but you kind of can make the connection. And there you go. We got ourselves a gangster from New York or from Chicago. Anyway, that's it, guys. That's what we're talking about here. Let me give you a quick, better look at all this. Let's see if this helps. You kind of have that look now. You see where it's all coming from now. It's nice. And what I like about this style, when you're working this way, if once you develop at least a bit of a command of the style, sometimes what's great about that is now you can work a little more efficiently. You're thinking less about the hyper detailed scratchy stuff, and you're putting more energy into like the volume and the fullness of the character. Then you can almost see any of these guys like if they were 3D objects. Again, it's all up to you. This is just one way to do it. It's all, however you want to accomplish the same goal, it's up to you. So I hope this stuff was good for you guys. I hope it was informative. I hope you guys got something out of it. I'm going to let you guys ask me questions if you like for the next few seconds to see if you have anything to say. Let's go back on me here. Don't forget that I have a project still lit. I'm really close to 55,000. Once I get to 55, I'm at 54,965. If I get to 55, I will have done, in fact, I'm going to work on it today, the bookmark for the project, and I will have original art for that as well. Legs broke just looking at them. And don't forget to check out Brian Shearer's project over on Indiegogo as well, Gunship Thunder Punch. What am I doing next, Justin McClure? What am I doing next? After Doomkicker, I will be putting together my artwork for Valkyries and Angels, so I can have that book set up for next year. And that's going to be a faster one. I'm hoping to hit the year with a couple of art books to help fill in the gaps that I didn't account for this time when it comes to projects overlapping each other, which has created a lot of challenges for me to dedicate a perfect amount of time to the project because I've been so busy trying to make up for what I can't afford. I've only been using what I need to use, and nothing more, which is really tight for my family. Trying to save all the money, the rest of the money for the other stuff. Who's behind me? Okay, thanks, hon. Anyway.
You don't want that now?
So anyway, so the as far as the who else can we talk about? That's my wife. Anyway, so she always throws me off when she does that, for crying out loud. Who else is out there? What other projects are going on there? I'm trying to think. I can't think of any on the top of my head. I'm not into the big back and forth of that anymore. Justin, you feel my pain. Wait a minute. Does RT Bear still have his project going? I'm not sure. Shinobi Sasquatch. Is Shinobi Sasquatch still in demand? King Crow? Anyway, yeah, man. So again, as we continue to approach the end of the year, she's watching out for my blood sugar. Trust me, Cosmetti, She's not as concerned as she lets on. Trust me. Garage Man. There you go. Aaron LaPresti has Garbage Man, not Garage Man. Garbage Man. That's funny. What else we got? Doug is working, so go check out Doug on his channel. He's working on Bigfoot Bill 2, I think. Obviously, his book looks fantastic, coming out from Earthworm Jim. Excited for Brand to come out sooner than later. Chrono Mechanics, that's the one from RT Bear. It's still in demand. Perfect. Good. I want to always recommend that. Show my love to him. I don't know if John Malin is doing anything right now. I think he's probably still working on that project Thundar. I look forward to that. I know we're gonna get some new stuff coming in February from Kevin Sharp. Who else? Matt Costin's working on some stuff. That's a lot of good stuff. I'm excited because I feel like I'm connected with some of the people who are working on indie books that are really top quality, and I'm looking forward to be part of that. And I definitely recommend you guys check that out. Next time we talk, I'm going to go over a little bit of not just this stuff, but also maybe we talk about something else. So by the way, in the comments below, if you guys are interested in some other kind of subject for me to cover, I just did this for fun, and we spent about as much time as I can possibly spend on this. Hey Everett, if you guys want, you can put in there recommendations for future things. I know someone's asked me before for hands, how to draw hands. I've done stuff like that before, but maybe we'll tackle this again that way. So I'm probably going to call these warm-up sessions, and maybe I'll subtitle them the subject, drawing gangsters or something like that. Versima, what's Versima? Gary Shipman will have Titan coming out next year. Yep, Gary Shipman, that's right. Oh, I look forward to Titan. That looks like fun. I want to do some fan art of Titan, actually. I like that character. It's so unfortunate. I have a bunch of mouse characters, but because of I'm proud of him that he plowed through and did it, because I was too chicken to get through with mine. Punchline over on but that's not is that an Indiegogo project or Kickstarter? It might be a Kickstarter. Go back it. Go share the stuff. And don't forget, do me a favor, if you've ever come across a project, feel free to send me a message here. Put it in the comments. I always check for my comments as much as possible for each video. So if you find a project you think would be something I should alert people to, let me know. But be warned, it needs to be top notch. I'm not looking to just promote anything. I'm not trying to promote someone's dream. I'm trying to promote good stuff to the customers. So hopefully you guys check it out. Check out Garbage Man. It needs backers, says Farmer Dan. You got it. Cover composition. For composition in general would be a good subject for a stream. That's a good idea. I think the way I could tackle that, I hate to be too specific with that because there's so many things, but I'll try to cover some of the principles of composition. We'll do that too. So that's a good idea. Put that in the comments, Papa Kanesu. Put that in the comments after the video's over so I can keep track of that. I'll try to make a list of these different ideas, and we'll see what we do. Again, guys, next year I plan to have an actual schedule for what I want to do. I don't want to do a lot of like impromptu videos. I'd rather do them specifically at certain times of the week. I want to be careful not to just pop in just because and then kind of mess up. But if you guys are willing to hang out with me and be part of that, that's awesome. Then you guys can share that, and then we can try to make a regular thing out of it as much as possible. But there you go. All right, kids, I love you guys. I hope you guys have a great Saturday as a way to lead into this next Sunday that leads right into the week of Christmas. I cannot wait till all of this works. So you guys be good. I will talk to y'all very, very soon. Later. Let's get the girl mouth side slits and a special Mike S. Miller cover. Back now only on Indiegogo. Hey guys, if you are enjoying the content here on the Jerkmonger Show, be sure to subscribe, like this video, and please share. Thanks. Hey, looking for a commission, maybe as a gift or for your own personal collection? Email thelabcomics@gmail.com for pricing and availability. Thanks.